Well, I still suck at that. So I want to personally thank all of the patrons that stuck with me over the many weeks that I wasn't making videos. Even if you deleted your pledge at some point, it doesn't matter. I don't blame you. I would have done the same thing. But thank you for hanging around. And thank you especially to all of you that are still with me. And let's make some YouTube videos. So there's an urban legend that goes like this. The creators behind Spaceballs severely limited their merchandise as part of an agreement with Lucasfilm, and that's why there are no Spaceballs action figures like the ones you see Dark Helmet play with in the film. Well, unlike most urban legends, this one is actually true. Even though Spaceballs most likely would fall under fair use, Mel Brooks approached Lucas to clear the film before it was made. This is a common thing in both Hollywood and in the music industry. For example, Weird Al gets permission for all of his songs, and some of those, contrary to popular belief, may not hold up in court, so, good on him. However, we're getting ahead of ourselves. So meet me back here in a few seconds and we'll discuss Star Wars, Spaceballs, and every YouTuber's favorite topic, fair use. Don't you skip my ad. I saw that. This video is brought to you in part by Amazon.com. We made a literal deal with the devil to bring you free trials, great deals, and product recommendations. If you see anything you like, buy it, and this channel will get a cut of that sweet, sweet capitalism. Just go to Amazon.com/shop/fancyteeth or click any of the Amazon links down in the doobly-doo. So, Spaceballs is a parody, and they often do fall under fair use. They could sometimes be some of the strongest fair use cases due to the fact that they usually exist solely to criticize or critique the original, and therefore courts have been known to give them special consideration. So allow me to break down the 4 factors that are considered by courts in American fair use cases. I have to use all this knowledge of copyright law that YouTube forced me to learn for something. Now keep in mind, other countries have different laws. The UK, for example, has what's called fair dealing, and from what Tom Scott has told me, it is somewhat more strict. The 4 factors, or pillars of fair use, are the purpose and character of the use, the nature of the copyrighted work, the amount and substance of any content used, and the effect the work will have or has had on any potential market for the original. So let's break them down one at a time. Purpose and character of the use. This first pillar of fair use is often called the transformative factor. Here, we consider 2 things. Has the copyrighted material been transformed by adding new meaning or expression? And has value been added in the form of new information, understandings, aesthetics, or insights? So think about parodies and reviews where someone critiques a work. The point is that you have to transform the material into something new. Spaceballs works as a parody because it has something to say about Star Wars. It's not enough just to recreate the work that you like. You have to say something about it. Preferably something critical. Then it would probably be fair use. I say probably because determining whether something is transformative or whether it's transformative enough is difficult. For example, one court said that a Harry Potter encyclopedia was slightly transformative because it compiled all of the terms in one place, but found that it was not enough to deem it a fair use. It didn't matter that the book was a republished website that used additional outside sources to enrich the reader's experience. It didn't matter that Rowling even gave positive reviews of the website, stating that she refers to it for facts when writing her own material. All that mattered to the court was this: creating an A to Z database of the people, places, and things from Harry Potter is not transformative enough. It is transformative in that it transformed some novels into an encyclopedia, and those 2 things do serve 2 different purposes, but it wasn't transformative enough. The court weighed each pillar of fair use separately before coming to their final conclusion. Check the links in the doobly-doo, 'cause it's worth a read. Nature of the copyrighted work. This one is pretty simple to understand. Copying from factual works like dictionaries and encyclopedias is more acceptable than copying from fictional works like novels or short stories. Furthermore, it's much more acceptable to copy from a publicly available published work than to copy from an unpublished work. And that makes sense, right? An author should have the right to be the first person to publish their stuff, although there are exceptions to everything. Of course, this applies to more than just written works. They just make great examples because they've been around longer than movies and YouTube videos. Amount and substantiality of the portion taken. So, taking less is better than taking more. That's simple enough, and it does make sense. But this one gets a little more complicated, as there are a couple of caveats. Even if you use very, very little of a work, you could still be outside of fair use if you took the heart of the original work. The heart is often considered the most memorable part, like the guitar riff from Smoke on the Water by Deep Purple, for example. I'm old. However, a parody can take the heart of a copyrighted work. The Supreme Court ruled that, and I'm paraphrasing here, the heart of a work is what most readily conjures up that work in the mind. And so, one may need to take the heart of a copyrighted work in order to properly take aim at it. Just keep in mind that a parody must say something about the original, something critical. Effect of the use upon the potential market. This one is often misunderstood. Some people seem to think that monetization is a determining factor when evaluating fair use, but that's not really the case. Book and game reviewers often use pieces of copyrighted material in their work, and reviews have even become a commonly cited example for fair use done correctly. What does matter is how your work affects the original. If your work deprives the copyright holder of income by acting as a replacement, then it's unlikely to hold up as fair use, including untapped potential markets. The go-to example here, because it actually happened, is a person who turns a photograph into a sculpture. That would not be fair use because the photo's owner has the right to tap into that potential market, even if the copyright holder has never or had never thought to do so. However, again here, parodies are given special consideration. If the sculpture changed the original image in a way that criticized the original, then it would probably be allowed. Furthermore, parodies and reviews are generally allowed to diminish or even destroy the market value of the original in cases where the parody simply prevents people from taking the original seriously. So, if I haven't driven the point home enough already, critique and criticism are protected under fair use because they are integral to free speech. So, geez, wrap it up. So back to Spaceballs. Does it really qualify as fair use? Well, it criticizes and critiques science fiction and fantasy, especially Star Wars specifically, by holding it up to ridicule. To me, the most prominent of these criticisms comes when Spaceballs makes fun of Lucasfilm's endless merchandising of Star Wars. And boy, do they ever merchandise Star Wars. Spaceballs uses some concepts, characters, and plot points from Star Wars, but it's always careful to be transformative. It adds new meaning, insights, and understandings not present in the original movie, while using no actual footage or audio from Star Wars. Even though Dark Helmet is clearly Darth Vader and Yogurt is clearly Yoda, this is okay because, as we've discussed, a parody is permitted to borrow even the heart of the original work in order to better take aim at the work itself. Last but not least, I doubt Spaceballs had any effect on Star Wars' potential market at all. In fact, you would have to have seen Star Wars already to really get Spaceballs. That being said, even if Spaceballs did diminish the market value for Star Wars, as a parody, it again gets special consideration. The only fair use factor against Spaceballs would be the nature of the copyrighted work. Star Wars is a fictional work, after all. So what's the verdict? I think we can give Spaceballs a passing grade here. In the end, a case could be made that Spaceballs is fair use because the copyright holder can make a decent argument under 3 of the 4 pillars of fair use. Remember, this would all come down to a court's ruling, and that's why it's so difficult to determine fair use cases. These are guidelines, but the final decision is usually made by a judge or a jury on a literal case-by-case basis. You can only know that something is fair use for sure if it goes to court and you win or the original copyright holder agrees that your work is fair use, which is exactly what George Lucas did for Mel Brooks in the case of Spaceballs. This is why YouTube copyright claims are negotiated between the video uploader and the copyright holder without YouTube's input, at least in general. Case in point, remember Garbage Pail Kids? That's clearly fair use, right? Well, in a decision that shocked the experts, the court thought otherwise. This is often called the 5th pillar of fair use, which basically comes down to, does the court see you as the bad guy? And so this brings us full circle. Remember what I said about Weird Al? Well, hopefully now you can understand why changing Beat It to Eat It might not hold up in court as fair use. It uses nearly the entire song and even recreates the entire music video while saying nothing about Michael Jackson's original song. Just a whole lot of unrelated fat shaming. That hypothetical case, however, will never go to court, and not just because Michael Jackson is dead. Someone still owns those songs. It's because Jackson co-wrote the song with Weird Al. Not really, but that is what the contract says. On the other hand, Weird Al's version of Smells Like Teen Spirit, titled Smells Like Nirvana, does in fact criticize the original work because the song is about how you can't understand anything that Kurt Cobain sings. And yet still, a court could surprise us all and rule on these issues in a way that we don't expect, and this is why it's common practice in the music industry and Hollywood to seek permission. There's too much uncertainty. Rich businessmen are not fond of risk. Hashtag eat the rich. And also Black Lives Matter. YouTubers, on the other hand, simply don't have those kinds of connections. We can't have our people call their people because most of us don't have any people. Lucky for us, getting permission is not required, regardless of what anyone tells you. And while we're at it, it's also not true that you can use a few seconds of a song or a video clip and it's automatically fair use. It might keep the algorithm from automatically catching it, but that's not the same thing. I think that belief comes from a misunderstanding of the de minimis defense. This is an argument used in court to say that a copyrighted material is too insignificant for the court to bother conducting an analysis in the first place. This defense doesn't always hold up. It's based on a case where the copyrighted material was said to be virtually unidentifiable. In short, if a reasonable person can recognize the song or movie that you're showing a clip or whatever it may be, then you'd best to make sure that you're following as many of the 4 or 5 pillars of fair use as possible. And even that probably won't prevent a copyright claim, but it could help you beat the claim, or if worst came to worst, the court case. What I really love about the Spaceballs agreement between Mel Brooks and George Lucas is that the parody criticized Star Wars and therefore George Lucas for allowing Star Wars merchandise to guide his decision-making. Basically, the movie says that Lucas cared more about the merch sales than the movies themselves. So then, as part of their agreement, Lucas stipulated that there could be no Spaceballs merchandise that would compete directly with merchandise from Star Wars. The irony is incredible. So now, the next time you see a song or a movie on YouTube with a description that reads for educational use only, or you see someone claim that fair use means that you can't make money from a movie review, hopefully now you'll know why those things are wrong. Jump down to the comments section below and let me know. Have you actually seen Spaceballs? Do you think it falls under fair use? And also, check the link in the description to Stanford's excellent overview of fair use. It was the main source for this video, and it's an excellent resource when appealing a copyright claim on fair use grounds. And don't be afraid to cite the past cases listed in that document. Until next time, please click subscribe and ring that bell so that you get notified when we release a new video, and please share this video on sites like Reddit, Facebook, and Twitter. If you didn't like this video, then let me know by clicking the thumbs down button, and likewise, if you did like it, then hit thumbs up. And a super duper special thank you to Bo Smith, Ken Steepe, Lauren Alexandra, Rachel Dallas Fort Worth, Sincerity, the almighty father of lies, and of course, praise be upon the patron saint of fancy teeth, Sleepy Hollow. Amen. Please be kind to each other, guys. I'm Jay Parks.